This episode of Warp 5 is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek FM at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the non-profit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join in on the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode or any other, please join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type Babel, that's B-A-B-E-L, into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
This is Mike Sussman, writer and producer of Star Trek Enterprise, and you're listening to Warp 5 on Trek FM.
How we doing, Trip? Ready when you are. Prepare for warp.
Course laid in, sir. Request permission to get underway. Let's go.
Welcome, Boomers, to another episode of Warp 5, Trek FM's dedicated Enterprise podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Devlin, and joining me today, as always, the lovely Brandi Jackola. Brandi, how are you?
I am great. Does that sound forced? It sounded forced, didn't it? Let me try it again and try to sound sincere. I'm great. Great. How are you, Patrick?
I'm doing all right. I had a good weekend. I sent you some messages, actually, because I had bought the Beverly Crusher action figure from the 80s.
Yes.
Because my daughter's named Beverly, and I had picked up the Discovery Hallmark ornament over the weekend, which was cool. And what I didn't send you was, I don't think I sent you, I also picked up from the same antique store that I got the Beverly from. I got 1976 metal lunch pails from Disney.
You told me about them, but you didn't send me pictures.
So I got to send you pictures because one of them actually comes with a thermos, which is the hard part to find. And the whole thermos, like they had three of them. So they had one from the Mickey Mouse Club or the Mouseketeers, and it didn't have a thermos at all. Then they had one, I don't remember what the theme was, but it was really banged up and it had the thermos, but not the top, the little cup part. And then they had the Walt Disney World one with the thermos and the top. I mean, it's a little rough around the edges, but it has the thermos, so I had to buy it.
Wow.
Yeah, I also bought the Mickey Mouse Club one, or the Mouseketeers one too, because you can't buy one. But I did get the full set, and I saw some really cool stuff. So now I have to travel all the way out to Phillipsburg, New Jersey again to buy more stuff.
Oh, you have to go to New Jersey? Ugh.
Like the other side of New Jersey too. It's like rough. Yeah.
Everything's too small in New Jersey.
So if you,
I'm sorry, we were talking about how I met your mother.
Yes. So anyway, if you're from Phillipsburg, New Jersey, and you are happening to be listening to this, I'm sorry, that mall sucks. There was like 6 stores, but the antique store is awesome. Go check it out. Other than that, yeah, I'm doing great. So yeah, I had a good weekend, and now it's Monday, and we're recording an episode, and I love recording an episode. So,
thumbs up.
Yep. So before we get into it, though, did we have anything on the Babel conference from our last episode?
Yes, our last released episode as of this recording was episode number 170-something.
That one. Big episode.
175, excuse me. I'm sorry. Which was about movie night, Bride of Frankenstein. And we didn't have a whole lot of comments. We did have Tony Robinson posting a picture saying that Elsa Lanchester was lucky to get a job as a nanny later in life because she was in, Mary Poppins as Katie Nanny, which is the nanny that's taking care of the Banks children before Mary Poppins. And she was also in an I Love Lucy episode. She actually did so much stuff prior to being in movies. But anyway, Elsa Lanchester. Too bad this is the thing you remembered most for. So, I know a lot of people love The Bride. The Bride, there's nothing wrong with The Bride herself. Just the rest of the movie. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
You just don't want that to be the thing you're known for.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being Bucky Dent.
Yeah, kind of is.
Great career, and then that happened.
Yeah, but Chris Tabruzio said, "Hey, Brandi Jackola said my name without stumbling through it." I'm just kidding. Love you guys. You jerk. I'm just kidding. Love you. So that's pretty much it. Just other than people saying they were going to be listening later or something like that, or it was their favorite character or
Frankenstein
whatever.
movie or something. Gotcha.
I don't know. A lot of people consider it the best Frankenstein movie.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, a lot of stuff popped up, and last minute I couldn't make that. My computer broke and whatever. But
bummer.
People thought that's the best.
Go read the Wikipedia entry. It was obviously written by a huge fan, saying that it was arguably the best Frankenstein movie, and I'm like, let's argue actually about that.
I could argue anything. It doesn't mean I'm right, but.
So I imagine that you felt about the movie pretty much the same way that Brandon and I did, which was a whole lot of, what?
Okay, good, because I had mentioned before when I was talking to you guys that I had questions, and honestly, when we talked just before you recorded, I just couldn't come up with any questions that didn't make me sound like I hated it, so I just didn't bother asking any. I didn't want to influence what you guys were going to say, but it seems like I wouldn't have influenced you at all. Huh?
No, you would have just fit right in.
So I didn't get the chance to listen to it yet. It's actually on the docket for tomorrow, but so we'll get to that when we do. We didn't have any emails or anything, right?
No, we have not had any emails.
Reviews?
We have not had any new reviews.
All right. Well, guys, get on that. We'll read them, even if they are bad.
Yeah, you know that we'll read them if they're bad. We've done.
You almost have a better shot.
Oh no! Don't invite people to hate. Jeez.
Hey, look. Cat Williams said it best. He said, haters' job is to hate, and if they don't have anyone to hate, don't worry, you can hate on me. It's fine. They can hate on me. It's their job. I don't want to see people jobless. So.
It's not really a job, though, so much as it is a hobby, because...
All right, well, everyone's got to have one.
You get paid for jobs.
Yeah, I guess.
And there's a lot of people just giving that out for free.
Yeah, well, they're ruining the market for the real haters. They're driving down wages.
Yeah. Why buy the hate when you can get it for free?
Right. I mean, look, if I got to pay for it, I know he's not as good, but he's free, so I'll take what I can get. Guess I know what the stinger is now.
Well, I'm happy we can make it easy for you.
Anywho, so we were talking. We have kind of a schedule set up, but honestly, I wasn't ready to do the schedule. I wasn't. I ended up recording The Edge for 2 hours yesterday, and I just didn't have time to watch the episodes we were supposed to watch. So we were gonna do a writer's room again because we enjoy doing them a lot. And we really couldn't come up with an idea. And then I was looking through your suggestion of looking through Memory Alpha on episodes that didn't ever happen. And I like the idea of doing a Boomer episode.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd start there. But did you want to do so should we do it like they were planning on it, like a season 1 episode, or should we make just an episode for our season 5 that's a Boomer episode?
No, I think we should do a season 5 because they did do a season 1 episode. It was Fortunate Son.
They did, but they had planned on doing 3 of them and actually delving into the Boomers a little bit more, and then they decided to give us more of Travis in other ways, and by that they mean not at all.
Yeah. Develop other aspects of his character that... Oh, wait. They didn't.
Right. Yeah. So that was also written by a huge fan, apparently, in Memory Alpha. So...
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. He deserved better.
So we could do that now, though. We could fix that. We could develop Travis in season 5. That's fine. I mean, we kind of know him now already, but not enough.
We know him as a Starfleet officer. We know him just a tiny bit as a Boomer.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I mean, like you said, we saw some of that in Fortunate Son, but even that was more like his family we were paying attention to, right? And their reactions to him.
No, that was Horizon.
Oh, right.
Unfortunate Son was the one where they come across another boomer ship where the captain has been incapacitated and the son has taken over and they're torturing a guy.
Yes, okay. Got my episodes all mixed up. Look at that. Oh, thank God you were here to save me.
I'm always here for you, Patrick. Always, always.
Perfect. So, okay, so we did see some of that, but I was thinking in this episode, instead of just developing Travis, we should actually look more into the actual boomers themselves and like their job. Because one of the things I've always said about Star Trek is we don't see enough about how the other side lives. We see Starfleet and we see how they live, but we never really see the average person.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, basically they're truck drivers, right? So they would have a pulse on the whole culture because they see so much of it.
Yeah.
You know, in my opinion. And some people are probably going, what the hell is he talking about right now? But I swear it's getting to a point. But because they travel around, and I think our story should take place somewhere near Earth.
Okay.
Which is actually what they were trying to avoid in the season 1, is putting them too close to Earth. Because I want these boomers to be very much tied into the Earth culture, the culture of Earth at the time, not some random species out in the galaxy doing the same job. You know, because we've seen it through Star Trek where they're hauling garbage or they're doing, but there are always some other species.
Yeah.
It's very rare that we would see Earthlings doing this job. And I think that's something I would like to see because, again, it gives me more of a feel of how the people in Starfleet, you know, under Starfleet or on Earth are living. And that's just something we don't see much of. And it dawned on me actually yesterday when recording for The Edge that people on Earth during the time of Discovery do not like Starfleet.
I was just going to bring that up and you beat me to it, so.
Yeah, because I'll give it away because this will probably come out after one of them, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But in the episodes, and it's going to be 2 episodes, but we talk about episodes 3 through 5, and more than once it's brought up in a very, you know, negative light, the people of Starfleet. So I think now, you know, what is this, like 100 years prior to that? I think people would actually like Starfleet a little bit more.
Yeah.
Except that we had the whole Zindi incident, which they're still being blamed for.
Yes.
So.
But yeah, Starfleet wouldn't have that reputation.
Rapture!
They wouldn't have that reputation yet because they're not, you know, expanding into all of these other areas yet. They're just barely really starting to explore the galaxy. So they...
Yes, but we do see in season 4.
Yeah, it starts to pick up in season 4.
But that the people, was it season 4 where they go to the bar and people are like, we don't want you around
yeah,
here
when
because...
they get upset that Phlox is in a bar because it starts with this whole. Oh, sorry, I'm crossing my wires. It starts with this. It starts up this whole Terra Prime movement. I almost said Earth first. Sorry, that was Babylon 5.
Yeah.
Anyway. But,
True. But
same sort of thing. Let's take care of us first, and the aliens can go do their thing. And that's just, I don't understand that mindset, whether it be in today's world or in the future, because we are all stronger together, and everybody needs help. And segregating different races is never going to work. Someone's going to end up being upset. That's how wars start.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree.
Stop doing it. Stop it.
But I see why the writers wrote that in.
Yes.
At the time of these episodes.
Absolutely. And I like that about season 4. You know what I mean. I like it as a story.
A talking point.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I meant to say, a talking point. I like that as a talking point because, of course, there are going to be people who are feeling that way, and we think we're so advanced, and obviously not so much. And I think that that's going to be true. No matter how technologically advanced we become, I think we're always going to struggle with that one thing of just ignoring the outside, ignoring the differences, and searching for commonalities instead.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. I completely agree with all those statements. And so, all right, so we have that as a basis, right? So we know at this point that at least some people don't like what Starfleet's doing because they feel, well, what do you think gallivanting around the universe is going to do?
Right.
But boomers should be a little different, right? Because they kind of already gallivant a little bit on their own, just not nearly as far.
Yeah, and they have plenty of interaction with alien species because they're running cargo, and they'll run cargo for anybody if it pays enough.
Right. Well, exactly. As long as the hole is worth the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so, where do you think? I'm trying to think how we would start this off, where we could get boomers involved. Because I was thinking to myself, maybe starting with the Enterprise breaking down, but that's happened a few times already, right?
So, they don't have energy shields yet.
Yeah, I know. Well, they still have big blankets.
Yep, just big, heavy compression blankets that do nothing.
And then I was thinking, well, maybe the cargo ship could break down. That happens a lot, too. Just responding to a random distress call again. Ugh.
Well, okay, so far we have 0 ideas.
Yes! And we're already 15 minutes in. We're doing great.
Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I have told you at the outset, I am not an idea person. I take other people's ideas and I build off of them. But
Okay, so build off my bad ideas.
build off of your no ideas, you mean?
Well, no, I had 2. I just don't like either one of them. Make me like one.
What if they
okay.
are actually contracted by Starfleet to deliver food and medical supplies to a colony that they don't have a starship free for?
Who is contracted? The Enterprise?
No. A boomer ship.
Oh, the boomers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got a starting point now. Starfleet is hiring freight company XYZ to bring food and supplies to colony Y.
They've had a cataclysmic weather disaster, and all of their food stores have been destroyed.
Okay, so Risa after war.
Okay, yeah, so Risa.
Timey-wimey.
And I would say that probably because they don't have a huge fleet yet. And
Well, do we know the size of their fleet? Because, I mean, they probably have a pretty large fleet of, like, Warp 2 ships, right?
yeah, but that's a boomer ship too. A boomer ship can do warp 2.
Right. So they need something faster.
So maybe
So they
they've
have
got
us and they have...
maybe they have
By season 5, they probably only have, like, 4 ships.
yeah, they might
Because they had 2 in season 4, right?
yeah, they're just everybody's busy with other things cuz they're doing stuff and I don't know.
Yeah, they're talking to Andorians. They're talking to Vulcans. They're doing
They're
stuff.
starting to do this sort of early days of the Federation thing.
Right.
So
For
there's
some reason, Archer's not the one doing it.
diplomatic missions and such.
Right. So we're back to Worf and the Enterprise.
Yeah. So they're going to Risa.
And on this episode of Earl Grey, all right, so, obviously they're not going to Riser. I know people are screaming at their computers, phones, and headsets at the moment. But they are going to some planet with a cataclysmic weather situation.
Yeah, I would say probably it would be better if their food stores weren't completely destroyed, but they were going to run out of food by a certain period of time. Oh, this is starting to sound like drastic measures. Oh dear. I'm just ripping off Dayton Ward now.
All right, well, that happens. I didn't read that one, so I can't say that I'm stealing from him yet.
It's actually really good. I mean,
Um,
I liked all the
all right,
Discovery
so-
books.
So how about instead? No. Okay, they're losing their food even though we're stealing from Dayton Ward. What if there is...
I would just say they had some kind of really bad dry period, and their water condensers or whatever couldn't make up for the immense heat, and their crops died. And so, I don't know, how backwards is this colony? I would think it would have to be like one of those real...
Well, they went to the one that was all Western, right, earlier on.
That's true, but it wasn't... Okay, that's fair. That's fair. They're going there!
Perfect. What was there? I don't even know what that was called.
I'm going to look it up because I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. I should know off the top of my head.
So, all right, but they're going... Yeah, I should too, but it's late and it's Monday. So, all right, they're going to that colony's in trouble again, even though that colony was ridiculously backwards anyway.
Yeah, well, it got better.
Because that was the one where a certain race couldn't learn, right? They weren't allowed to...
They weren't allowed to go to school.
Right.
Etc. Well, they had enslaved the now dominant group, and...
Right, and then the dominant group, in return, enslaved them.
Yeah.
So that they couldn't be enslaved again.
Yeah, it's like, guys, it doesn't work that way, kids.
And we told them they can't be part of Starfleet again until they fix their problems.
Yeah.
Now we're going to pretend they didn't care about becoming Starfleet. Ever. So they just kept their backwards ways, and now they need our help.
Well, I don't know that it would necessarily be their backwards ways that would do that, because if anything, I think that they would be more prone to reaching out to Starfleet instead of just letting people starve to death. Because they are trying to progress and learn to live together, but it's not always easy, and, you know, one really dry summer can ruin it for everybody.
Right, and that's what happened. They had a really, 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 really dry summer. Most of the crops died or whatever. There wasn't much to sustain life, but they definitely need help or something along those lines. Now, I guess you'd figure by now they figured out how to seed clouds properly, right? So maybe that's what we're hauling out there, is some kind of technology for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe the planet shifted its orbit, and that's why they're...
Sure, we're going to go push it.
Sure.
Just give it a little nudge.
Just give it
Back over there.
I don't think that's a good idea.
So, woo! Wow, they went out there and well, now they're gone. There's no star to be found. Hopefully, they'll find another one. So, all right. So they're bringing medical supplies, right? They have medical supplies on board. They're bringing food, water, that kind of stuff, and but at some point we have to get other boomers involved. I want to get like actual boomers. So let's just say that Starfleet, the Enterprise, is just bringing the first wave of stuff, just enough to sustain them long enough for actual boomers to start making normal trips,
right,
to and from this planet. And
let's name it North Star. Planet North Star.
So okay, yeah. So they're heading to Northy.
Yeah.
And so, all right. So the Enterprise is the first wave that's going to be heading there, but there are going to be regular boomers to follow.
Yes.
Right. That are just going to make regular trips now until they can get this planet back in order.
Right.
And the whole point of Enterprise is to just get there quickly and get out, which is kind of scary because they're heading back to the Delphic Expanse. Right.
Yeah.
So, that's also problematic. So the boomers really raise their prices.
Yeah.
Because this is obviously a more dangerous run than normal.
Right, but they don't have the anomalies anymore.
Yeah, but you still have all the other, like the Xindi and everyone else hanging around there that don't like us.
Yeah, but the Xindi, they're really, except for the reptilians, the Xindi are just kind of like backing away slowly.
Yeah, I guess that's true, and I guess you wouldn't have the pirates anymore either, right? Because all that's kind of
well, you'd still have
sorted itself out.
Orions and stuff like that are always everywhere being trouble.
Apparently,
Yeah.
even when there's no mention of them ever.
Yeah, well,
there
it's one of
before.
those things where it's just there's always going to be dangers traveling in space.
So, Enterprise breaks down.
All right.
But now the first of the boomers come across them, and they're not willing to stop and help.
Ooh.
Well, it makes sense, right?
No,
Because-
it does. I'm not saying it is bad. I'm just like,
No, I'm trying to explain it out, though, here. I'm trying to talk myself into this making sense to me, too. And the reason they won't is because the longer it takes to do their haul, the longer it takes for them to get paid. And now Mayweather's getting upset because his family would have stopped to help someone.
Yeah.
People over money type deal. But not all boomers are going to be like that. In fact, I would imagine that even at this time, most boomers would not be like that.
Yeah.
Because it's still survival of the fittest out there, right? And each one of these guys really work for themselves, or whatever the crews work for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a distress call out, and when the first boomer arrives, he ends up like blowing them off and blowing right by them. So now, I would imagine this would cause some conflict on the ship between somebody and Travis.
Mm.
Because Travis would be trying to defend boomers when what they just saw was one just blow right past them.
Who's the most logical choice?
Well, I think it has to be Trip or Reed.
I was going to say the same thing, but I think Trip is more emotional.
He might be, but remember, his engine's broke, and this boomer just said to him.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Trip would be the better
Right, so
person
more
to
likely, you mean. Right,
get
okay.
upset about the boomers not helping.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I just like when Reed gets upset.
I know. Maybe he can get upset with Trip.
Maybe.
One of the few things they agree on. Sorry.
Or maybe he can get upset at Trip for being upset at Travis.
Yeah, and then Trip calls him Stinky.
So now we have a fight going on between Trip and Travis, and apparently everyone's yelling at someone because we're just going to find a way to fit all of them in here, right?
Yes.
Because Reed's yelling at both of them for some reason. He's kind of like bipolar at that moment.
Toshi's trying to make peace, and they're just being angry at her, too.
Right.
And
Well, and she's trying to communicate with the boomers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they're just like ignoring her, so she's getting frustrated.
Yeah.
So she's mad, they're mad, and Archer's just had enough because he just wants this ship fixed and going because he knows people that he knows are dying, right? Because he knows them now.
Yeah. Probably
he's upset.
Probably the only people that aren't upset are DePaul and Phlox.
I was going to say that, and I think even Phlox might be a little upset because he's got medical supplies that are going to go bad if they don't get there fast enough.
Yeah.
So DePaul is the only rational thinking person here.
Mm-hmm.
Who decides to call the next boomer ship.
Nice.
So the problem here is we have a boomer ship that's finally going to talk to us. And we don't know how to really communicate with them because we're Starfleet and they don't. I'm going to say that this particular crew, while it wants to help because it cares about the people on this other planet that it doesn't know, it doesn't want anything to do with Starfleet.
Mm.
It doesn't want to really help Starfleet. It doesn't really want to be involved with Starfleet.
Yeah.
And let's just say what broke on the ship? Something had to break that stops us from flying. Well, let's just say there was going to be like a nuclear meltdown in the dilithium crystals, so they had to eject them.
Ooh.
So they're looking for dilithium crystals to trade with this boomer ship.
I'm just trying to think what weird thing could make that happen.
I don't know. Trip got overzealous.
And no, I feel like it has to be.
I mean, can they even do that on this ship? I don't even know if that's possible.
I don't know.
It is now. Well, whatever. They'll kill us in the comments.
Oh, sure.
But
I'm ready for it. What if it was like as they're getting close to the system, the sun in that system has an unexpected massive solar flare?
Right, it knocks out their propulsion and causes stuff to.
And their long-range communications, which makes it really fun.
Yeah, so they can't talk to anybody, but like ship zooming by them at Mach 2.
Yep.
Warp 2. But you know what I mean.
I hope they're going faster than Mach 2.
Nah, they're just moseying along. They're like, the Enterprise will get there first. Worst boomers ever. So finally, they have to go to Travis, and Travis finally convinces them, that my family were boomers, we did this, blah, blah, blah. And some way or another, Travis's family has some connection to this second ship that was just going to blast by us too. But it ended up not doing that because the captain of this ship once worked for Travis's dad and really respected him.
Nice.
So that's the only reason why he's willing to stop and even entertain the idea of helping Starfleet. But he will not board the ship. He will not come aboard their ship. He wants Archer and Travis and Trip to come aboard his ship to show his dominance or whatever.
Okay. Are they going to use the transporters? Just kidding. They're still not regularly using transporters.
No, but yeah.
And besides,
So
would a cargo ship
Go ahead.
even have a transporter pad?
No, but we could transport to them.
Yeah. Well,
But-
that depends
No,
on
that's
who
like-
you ask and what you consider canon.
Yeah, well,
Because
true.
it wasn't until, Next Generation that you could do site-to-site transports on the ship? Like beam someone directly from the bridge to sickbay or whatever?
Well, yeah, kind of.
But, I think...
It happens in Discovery.
I'm just saying, just because it wasn't on screen doesn't mean it couldn't happen.
Well, that's true.
So-
But it's, like I said, it's in Discovery, so.
Yeah. And besides that, how do they beam down and up to planet? Oh, yeah, the communicators. Never mind. I answered my own question. I'm having a Monday, guys. I'm having a Monday.
It's okay.
It was a really bad commute, okay, guys? It's just...
So now we're on the Boomer's ship.
We have to give
and
it a name.
The Boomer's ship?
Mm-hmm.
Mayweather 4.
Really?
I don't know. It's a Monday. What do you want from me?
Well, then it would be obvious that they had some kind of association with Travis's family.
Okay. The weather may. It's the Twilight Princess. I like it because I was going to name a boat that. Come on, you're a gamer. You have to know that's Zelda.
Why do you think I'm laughing?
All right, you come up with a name, then I suck at this.
Could call it the Earhart.
You could.
But then they'd crash on a planet and no one would ever find them until
Maybe that's what happens here.
150 years. No, that's what's going to happen to the Horizon.
Okay.
The Aldrin.
I like it.
Okay, we're calling it the Aldrin after Buzz Aldrin.
So it's the Aldrin.
Mm-hmm.
So they get the Aldrin to stop. They board the Aldrin. However they do that, because really a boomer ship wouldn't really have a docking bay for a.
No, they do that collapsible
pod,
tube thingy.
Yeah. They actually have to couple.
Yeah, like when Travis went to the Horizon.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. So they do that. They walk across. They go over there. They do that thing, and I'm thinking everything's going fine right up until the moment Archer opens his mouth. And it's not that Archer screws it up. It's that they just don't want to deal with Starfleet, so they only want to deal with Mayweather.
Okay.
It was even hard just to get them to allow Archer and Trip to come along. It's just that Mayweather was very insistent that I can't do any of these negotiations without them.
Okay.
Because, again, I really think that a lot of people on Earth, even the boomers, are going to not necessarily like Starfleet. And I'm going to think one reason that the boomers don't like them, even though they know that maybe they're not the cause of this Indy issue, that, one, they went too far. They went out of their reaches. They kind of grasped farther than they should have, and when the boomers kind of know where they can and can't go. But, two, they feel that, especially with them taking the supplies, that they might be putting them out of a job.
Yeah, that's definitely something that would be on the boomers' minds. And in fact, they kind of intimate as much during that episode Horizon to Travis.
Yes.
And they can't find people to crew their ships because everyone wants to go off on a starship now.
Correct. And eventually the starships would just be hauling the stuff, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I guess we kind of get that same kind of feeling from this captain. We get the, you know, not that he wants to insult his own crew, but maybe, let's say, instead of that his crew isn't the best, that his crew is half the size it really should be because he can't find people to do the job.
Right.
Because I don't want to say his crew is bad.
No.
But, or that he would say it was bad at least, but that he can't fill all the positions. So as he's walking around and they're talking about, well, we need this and we need that and this broke down, and if we can't get started, you guys can't make it in time. He, you know, he's basically saying, yeah, well, you see that guy? Well, he's my head engineer and my security officer. You see that woman? She's my whatever and whatever. I don't know enough positions on this damn ship to give her one. But, you know, she's my medical officer and my cook because, you know, their rooms are next to each other. So, like, you know, so, although I would imagine boomers all cook.
Yeah, I would assume that they do.
Seem to be a boomer thing, right? Like, you have to be a cook and a something.
Yeah.
But whatever. So she's the medical officer and the, you know, quartermaster at the same time. And he's going on and on about this as he's walking down the hall, and he's basically pointing out that you have this crew that half the people don't do anything half the day, and my crew has to work through the night half the time because we don't have enough people, so we work in, and he goes into this, we work in like 15-hour shifts. So someone works a whole 15-hour shift, and then when they go to sleep, someone else is on a different rotating 15-hour shift. So there's always overlap between the crew.
Right.
You know, 15. Yeah, that makes sense. Because 7.5 hours in, half the crew would change, and then 7.5 hours later, I would leave, and then someone else would come on at their minimum at their 7.5 and rotate over and over again. Mm-hmm. And he's going, it's burning his crew out. You know, you're worried about your ship, but I'm worried about my crew. What can you do to help me? Mm-hmm. Because I don't think boomers have replicators and stuff. Oh, they did in
No, starships still don't have major replication technology. They have like a drink machine, and that's it.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they have either supply packets, you know, like space food, like the astronauts had, or they have a cook and cook it themselves.
Yeah, and MREs.
MREs, that's the right word. Meals ready to eat.
Yes, kind of.
Well. That's what
definition on
that's
eat.
what MRE stands for, but
I know. I had to eat them.
I know you know. I don't need I'm explaining for the audience. I know
yes.
that you know.
Well, now they know.
Now. And knowing is half the battle.
Beef stew is the best one.
Oh.
Just so you know.
I like a good beef stew.
Yeah, it was pretty good actually. It wasn't bad. But enough about my MRE experience. So maybe that's where Archer puts his foot in his mouth, actually. And he offers to help this crew get help from Starfleet. And then the captain kind of loses it. I don't need Starfleet. We've been doing this on our own for whatever time.
Our whole lives. The last 30 years.
Yeah, the last thing we need is Starfleet to come around and telling us how to do our jobs. And if you guys didn't get involved and we would have gotten these supplies out sooner, then we would have gotten there quicker and we wouldn't need you in the first place, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Somehow, this all has to come back to Mayweather calling in a favor, but from knowing his dad, I guess. Or maybe the guy didn't know that his dad had passed away. Mm. And he says something along the lines of, you think this is how my dad would want to remember a crew member of his?
Ooh, snap.
Right, and the guy basically says, well, when I last saw your father, blah, 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 and that's when Mayweather goes off on him like, well, when I last saw my father, I didn't think he cared, but he said I was, blah, and he goes into that whole tirade of, he said I was the greatest stick and rudder man he's ever seen, and he was proud of me being in Starfleet. You should be more open-minded yourself.
I like that.
So at this point, he's going to give Archer whatever it is they need to run their ship, right, which we still haven't really figured out because I don't think they eject dilithium at that time.
No,
well, that's what they'll give
I
them.
don't think they are using dilithium. I think it's still antimatter. I mean, it's the Klingons that use dilithium.
Yeah. All right, so whatever. We for whatever reason, we had a catastrophe where we had to get rid of... There's a lot of massive nonsense going on, huh? We got antimatter exploding. We got planets under siege by weather.
Yeah.
But
well, that's the thing. You gotta have something going on, so you have something to fix.
Yeah. We got plenty. Oh, what if we could go back? Hold on, I messed this all
Okay.
up. What if they had to eject the antimatter, and they accidentally catch this ship in their antimatter that's leaving?
Oh, wow.
And that's how they end up side by side fighting. And then you could take everything I just wrote and throw it away up until the Mayweather argument about his dad. Because now, instead of them just arguing because he's Starfleet, they're arguing. He's blaming Archer for him being stuck. And the only way for either one of these ships to ever move is if they help each other.
Okay, so they gotta work together or they're both dead.
Right, because that's, of course, Star Trek. They basically have to build one ship out of two.
Okay. Got it. Well, that just simplified things.
Yes. So, but in order to do this, they basically have to, like, piggyback the boomer ship on top of the Enterprise.
Nice.
And the problem with this, the main conflict we're going to have with this, is that Trip is really annoyed because he's not as good as an engineer on their ship as he would like to be. Because he wants to do all the changes, but their engineer actually knows how to make this thing work even though it's not really legit.
So he feels not useful.
Yeah, and more annoyed that someone else is playing around in his ship.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't like people playing with his engines.
No, not at all. But they have to because he doesn't understand how to make this whole thing work.
Right.
Because basically their ship is being held together with duct tape and glue as it is.
And prayer.
So, right. So you can't just like hook up a hose and go, hey, it's going to work now.
Yep.
You got to kind of make it work. Just get it in. And so we see that interaction. We see, a typical Trip interaction where he starts off hating them, and by the end he really respects them.
For the listeners, I'm writing all of this down, like I always do in our Writer's Room episodes.
So now they can go Warp 5 again, but they fear that the
That they'll lose
boomer
their
ship is
piggy?
just going to get ripped off, fly away.
Piggy goes flying, okay.
Yeah, so let's say they can max out at like 3.8, right?
Okay.
Maybe 4.
I like 3.8. It's a nice random number.
Yeah, I thought so. So it's still faster than the other boomers, right?
Yep.
So at this point, we still have the boomer. Well, let's give that guy a name. What should that guy's name be? The captain of the boomer vessel of the Aldrin.
Oh, there are too many names.
Phil.
Phil? No, Phil.
We use Phil for a lot of things.
No, Phil is
Everyone else.
no, that's Paul. I was going to say Phil is Travis's brother, but that's Paul.
Oh no, that's Paul.
Paul.
That is still too close.
John
McDoogal.
McDoogal? Okay. But it's Jon.
Yes. Well, you want to make him Sean McDougal? SEAN?
Ooh, I like that too. Which one do you like best?
Yeah. Sean.
Now, is it SH or SE?
No, SE, the Irish way. It's McDougal.
Excellent. I'm just being sure. Okay.
So Sean McDougal and Jonathan Archie. We couldn't use John. There'd be 2 John captains.
Oh, that's true. John and Sean
So,
now.
Sean and John. Sean John.
Sean John works better.
So now, we have one of those like prototypical like they're kind of butting heads, but they're kind of starting to get along thing, and then something happens just before they get to the planet, or he says, "Take us out of warp," and they both say it at the same time, and everyone goes, "Ha ha, that's so cute." When they're watching, just because I think that would be weird and interesting that he would have him on the bridge, but he had him there, trying to show him how they do what they do, and he also wanted to learn off of Sean the way he runs a ship, because he runs it at a very small complement when he needs a lot more men, and Archer is smart enough to learn from people who have been doing something maybe longer than he has, and he hasn't had experience with short crews. So, flying 2 ships, this would still be considered a short crew in my opinion, because there's so many other things to worry about now, like the ship just disappearing off your back, and if this thing holds together, and lots of stuff, and you got to worry about pirates coming out of nowhere and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we have that happen, and then I mean, we deliver the supplies, right? And we find out, because we just have to find out something happy and nice, that the Skags are no longer Skags. They actually have like a real name now.
The Skagarians.
And they're not slaves. Yeah, well, the Skagarians, but even that, like, they were called the Skagarians. It's not even like, that wasn't even their race's original name, I don't think.
No, I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, because everything I read just said they were called.
Yeah, but not by humans.
Gotcha.
Because they went and kidnapped humans. Humans had no idea what they were.
Yeah, because they kidnapped them from like Earth somewhere, right?
Yeah, from the desert and stuff.
Yeah, Arizona or whatever.
Yeah.
Some place that had cowboys and tumbleweeds, apparently. And was set in they never advanced technologically. Amazing. But 250 years, they're still riding horses.
Well, that's what racism will do.
Well, that's a good point.
Racism inhibits technological advances.
So, but when we finally beam down, let's just say that Archer goes to the bar that he was in the episode previous, and there's still the picture still up of that guy's family because that's important. Mm-hmm. Nobody died in that episode that was really important, right?
I don't think so.
Like the bar owner was still alive and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And but now it's a totally different. Like the Skagarians are sitting at the bar, and Archer doesn't even recognize the place, and he talks to this guy, and he finds out this guy's family was like part of the Pony Express.
Oh wow!
Back on Earth, or something that they found out because they finally looked in places where documents were held or something from the slave days. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that in there because it's stupid. But no, but we find out that this planet has evolved past what we had seen, and they're basically both treated as one people, not two separate races on a planet. And we end on a note of something along the lines of Sean McDoogal talking about how cool it was to go warp 4 without saying cool because they don't talk like that.
Okay.
Now, what else can we add to this? Anything you can think of that we could add to this to make this an actual episode? Because this is like a very vague writer's room.
Yeah, well, that's because we're not actually writers. That's what real writers are for, is to flesh out all the dialogue and crap. Because
but I feel like we've done a few more details in the past.
Yeah, well, I think that our episodes have actually turned out pretty good. And they have fewer details than you think. You're thinking about the movie that we did, which had a lot of details.
That one had a ton of
so many details. So, do you want me to go over it and then see what we are missing?
Yeah, let's see what we could add.
Okay, so we have Planet North Star. That's what we're calling it.
Old Northie.
They've had a weather cataclysm. Their food supplies are running low. Crops have been destroyed, and they reach out to Starfleet for help. Starfleet decides to also hire some boomer ships in order to deliver supplies because the fleet isn't big enough to just send out starships every time somebody needs help. And this is a bit of a long trip because they are in the Delphic Expanse. But not that the Delphic Expanse is a physically scary place to go anymore because the sphere builders are gone and their anomalies are gone and all of that sort of stuff. So, they are passing by the planet's, or the system's sun. We're going to assume it was a large solar flare or some kind of terrible solar storm, causes them to have a warp core breach, and they have to eject their antimatter, and a boomer ship gets caught in the wake of the ejection of said antimatter and damages their ship. So now they're both dead in the water, and everybody's blaming everybody else. They're all very upset. Eventually, they discover that they have to work together or they're both going to die out there in the middle of space. And so the boomer captain, Sean McDoogal, gets his peeps together, and they determine that they're going to piggyback the boomer ship onto Enterprise, which I love the visual of that so much in my head. I just love it. And Trip isn't happy about it because he doesn't want people messing around with his engines, but he has no choice because what the boomers are trying to do, he doesn't have any expertise in that. And so he has to let their engineer make the modifications so that this will work and they can both warp.
Right, and before, just one thing. And we get one of those famous, like, Archer putting his foot down on Trip scenes, because Trip, like, storms into the bridge. He's like, hey, they can't touch my engines. It's my engines. Wah, 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 wah. And basically, Archer has to put his foot down in front of the boomer captain, in front of Sean McDoogal.
Right. And Sean and his crew aren't very happy to have to help Starfleet because they blame Starfleet for lack of jobs, lack of crew members, available crew members, etc. And so they feel like Starfleet is killing their way of life. So there's some bad feelings there. And basically, it's all the people in Starfleet are just kind of like, wait, what? Because they're
clueless about this.
They're not really thinking about it. Their only boomer experience is basically with Travis, and Travis is and always amiable, so they just don't understand what's going on. Archer, however, is the kind of person that, like you said, is smart enough to want to learn from others, and so he's definitely just poring over everything they're doing, and sort of at the forefront every step of the way, even with Trip glowering in the corner.
We really made him a baby in this episode, but I think it fits.
No, it does fit. It does fit, especially for the time period. And so they, after butting heads a lot, they finally are able to piggyback the boomer ship onto Enterprise, and they can max out at about warp 3.8, or else they might lose the other ship. So they go into warp, and they get close to the planet. Both Sean and John at the same time say, take us out of warp, which everyone thinks is cute.
Yeah, it's adorable.
It's so cute. And then, of course, start delivering the supplies. Archer decides he wants to see the planet again, see what's happened since the last time they were there, and is very surprised to find that the Skagarans are not slaves anymore. They're integrated schools. They're sitting in the bar alongside human patrons, and everybody seems to be getting along pretty well. And we find out that the guy, is it the guy who, the guy who owns the bar, he turns out his family was part of the Pony Express, and so
whatever.
Nice little,
I like it.
nice little history thing in there. Gotta tie it in.
Just because they're still on horses. So.
And though Sean may never admit it in front of Archer, he really enjoyed going warp 3.8 almost. He tells everybody it was warp 4. He just rounds it up. Yeah, tells everybody it was warp 4.
It's like the fish story.
Exactly.
We'll run into him in episode in season 6, and he'll be telling people about how he went warp 8.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Exactly.
And I think we should maybe close with a some kind of, I wouldn't be able to write it. We'd need actual writers for this, but some kind of line of where Archer basically says, your crew handled themselves amazingly. It was an honor working with you, blah, 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 blah. And just kind of because he's a boomer and not, a Starfleet officer, Sean basically doesn't say yours did too. He kind of says something along the lines of, well, of course they did, or I knew they would, or something along those lines.
Yeah. Well, of course we did. We're boomers.
Right, something like that. Perfect. Or that's what boomers do,
Okay, yeah, that's what boomers do. I like that. And
basically intimating that's what Starfleet lacks.
Yeah, and Archer just smiles placatingly and shakes his head a little as he walks away.
Yeah, he might do that, but he knows he's right too.
Yeah, but that doesn't, it's Archer is a big enough person to say you have done a great job, you have value, and Sean does not reciprocate, and that's kind of a jerk move.
Yeah, it is.
But fits with, I think, the character that we've created. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I think while Archer was saying it to to be the bigger man, or because he is the bigger man.
Well, not only that, but he wouldn't have said it if he didn't mean it as well.
I think that he's taking it as kind of like a pat on the head, like good job. That's how Sean would see it, even if that's not the right way of seeing it, because he doesn't like Starfleet. And even though they were able to come together and do their thing, he still doesn't really fully trust Starfleet.
And then in season 6, Sean McDoogal blows
up Starfleet,
captain of a starship.
Yeah.
Because if you can't beat him, join him.
and then Archer gets to rub it in his face.
Oh, Archer would never.
Oh. No kidding. You can't get anyone on your ships. You left.
Trip would do that, but Archer would.
Yeah, true.
No.
Very true. So, I mean, I really don't need final thoughts. That was the final thoughts, right?
Pretty much.
But I think if it was fleshed out, that could turn into a decent episode.
Yeah. So what are we gonna call it? It's got to have a name.
Well, we can't call it North Star.
No. Piggyback.
It could be called that. It could be called Aldrin. It could be called Boomers. I like Piggyback though.
I do too. We're calling it Piggyback.
Yes. Season 5, Episode 4, Piggyback. I don't know if that would actually make anyone's list for best episode title of the season, but
it doesn't matter to me. I like it. So, cool.
Yeah, it works for me. It's been fun talking about boomers today, but this isn't the only thing we've been discussing on the network. So here's a quick look at some of the other things you may have missed elsewhere on Trek FM.
Previously on Trek.fm. To the journey!
Brace for impact, yes. Okay, if I'm going to make a commitment to myself right now. If I am ever perishing in a plane crash, I am going to say brace for impact right before I die. To everyone on the plane.
I will
brace
somehow
for impact.
hear it across the miles.
It'll be very dramatic, with some dramatic theme music playing, hopefully, just like we have in Voyager here this episode.
Earl Grey.
That's terrible. Like, why would someone think that? I mean, if it's going to infect this entire world of Ferengi, you've got to assume that there's going to be visitors or whatever, and then it's just going to spread everywhere. That doesn't even make sense.
Doesn't sound like a good plan to me.
No, it does not.
Literary Treks.
Both Bernd and myself like Star Trek stories that work as some kind of a parable that hold up the mirror to modern times. And when we got the assignment that we could actually write the Prometheus trilogy, we were pretty sure that we wanted to do something contemporary with it, that we wanted to put modern day into a science fiction story. And the biggest problem that we saw at the time was terrorism.
Melodic Treks.
I suppose as being an actor, I just was really kind of feeling into Clive's character. Okay. And trying to express the emotion of what I felt like he was going through on the Sarangi. Mm-hmm. So then it became much more of a personal, individual character. It was how I experienced doing it.
And that's what else is happening on Trek.fm.
Check out all these shows and join the conversation about your favorite corner of the Star Trek universe and beyond. You'll find us wherever you can get your podcast. If you're an Apple user, be sure to hit the subscribe button in Apple Podcast on iPhone, iPad, or Apple TV, or the desktop iTunes app to get the latest episodes as soon as they are published. And please leave us a star rating and written review. If you're not an Apple user, we've got you covered as well. You can find our show on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Windows Phone, in most third-party apps, and you can stream and download the MP3 file from our website or grab the RSS link.
We would love to hear your thoughts on today's show. Guess what? There are so many ways for you to do that, okay? The best place, of course, is to join in the larger conversation on the Babel Conference, which is our listeners group on Facebook. Go to the Facebox.
Go to the Facebox search book.
Yep, go to the Facebox search book and type Babel, Babel, into that search box. No, the search book. It's search book now.
Search book.
That's canon now.
It's like a magic book.
It should come right up. But if you'd like to send us an email, and we do love emails, you can use the form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and select Warp 5. That will come right to us, and you can also find the network on Twitter at TrekFM and on Facebook at facebook.com/TrekFM. So Patrick, when you are not busy discovering that we can't name another guy John because we already have one, where can people find you?
Well, when I'm not busy doing that, I'm always editing these things. I'm always trying to search names out to make sure we don't cross extra names there. You can find me on Twitter at MagicDrop5. It's one word, but the 5 is a number, not a letter or letters. You can also find me on the Babel Conference. I pop my head up in there once in a while, but I've been really busy, so haven't been doing that as much as I'd like. And you can always find me with my buddy Amy on The Edge, coming to you every other week, which we'll be going to every week once the show comes back in January. So, Brandi, when you're not piggybacking a helicopter to the back of your car to get to work faster in the morning, where can people find you?
If only I could do that. That would be great. You can find me on Twitter at BrandyWine12, Brandi with an I, 12 is a number. You can find me lurking in the Babel Conference from time to time. I'm also on Live from the Edge, which will be only on the Thursdays that Short Treks come out. As of this recording, there will only be one left because after this is released, we will have already done the third one. And then when Discovery Season 2 begins, we will be doing Live from the Edge every Friday night because episodes are releasing on Thursdays now instead of Sundays. You can also find me on the Dark Corner podcast, which is a podcast I do with my wonderful husband, Dave, and we talk about stuff and things from a darker point of view. We also do a lot of improv, and we've been posting some recordings of our live shows lately because it's fun. And I have another thing in the works that I can't talk about right now. So watch this space.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to each week, you can become a patron on the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/TrekFM. That's patreon.com/TrekFM to get all the details. Perks include early access to episodes, exclusive content, producer credits, and more. Available through our special patrons website, Patron Zone. It requires a great deal of money to produce, host, and distribute these shows each month. We really appreciate any support you can give us and hope you'll join the team. Again, you'll find all the details at patreon.com/TrekFM.
And this is the time of the show where we pay homage to our wonderful Boomer associate producers. We have Norman C. Lau, Floyd Dorsey, Mike Morrison, Tim Cooper, Justin Ozer, Mark Flessa, Chris Trabuzio, and Jim McMahon. We so very much appreciate your support of the Trek FM network and specifically Warp 5. We literally could not do this without your support, so thank you ever so much.
That's all we got for you this week, so keep calm and boom on.